There are two important days in every person's life: the day that they are born and the day that they realize why. That was a quote told to me by my friend in my junior year of high school. He told me that it reminded him of me. And that quote has stuck with me ever since, because I believe that no truer words have been spoken. And whether you agree with me or not, I'm going to explain to you why I will always believe that quote. The morning of November 23rd, 2015, I was on Thanksgiving break, but not where I thought I would be. I was in Little Rock, Arkansas, at the University of Arkansas Medical School, on a hospital bed, being wheeled away into an operating room. Now, at 13 years old, I was far too experienced with hospitals. Certainly far more than any 13-year-old should be, but this was different. I had had this infection before, in my right eye, and it didn't end well. You see, that whole morning, I couldn't open my eye because it hurt too much. And even if I did, I couldn't see much more than a blurry mess of light and color. It's hard to see through tears. After I woke up from that surgery, and the day afterwards, when they finally took the eye patch off, well, I opened my eye, and there was nothing. I don't know how many times I blinked, and to be completely honest, I don't know at what point it truly hit me. Because I believe that in times like that, your body shuts down and it refuses to believe what it can't accept to be true. I don't remember much of that week. Thankfully. I was woken up every hour for eye drops, my blood taken every morning, and I had surgeries 5 out of the 7 days that I was there. That's not where I'm going with this story. The Sunday of that week was the day that I was let out. We were discharged early in the morning after a rough week, to put it lightly. You see, my dad and I had to rush to Detroit, a 17-hour car trip, and we had to be there by 7 a.m. the next morning because the doctor that we needed to see was flying to Italy later that Monday. We were being rushed out of the hospital, filling out paperwork, and my dad had just been instructed how to use a PICC line and told that if he did it wrong, I could go into anaphylactic shock. Certainly unsettling news after a week full of stress, little sleep, as my dad sat next to me the entire 7 days that I was there in a chair that I can only assume was far less comfortable than the hospital bed that I got to lay in. I stayed up the whole trip with him, so that I could be there for him like he was there for me that whole week. At some point, we stopped in the middle of nowhere in Missouri at some gas station. My dad was sterilizing this table and laying out this gauze to set up the PICC line, or to what I would assume everybody else watching thought was some young kid with a drug addiction that his father was supplying. I didn't know this until a couple years later, but my dad had stepped out after he finally started the antibiotics and to smoke, de-stress. He was wearing t-shirts and shorts in late November in Missouri. Certainly looked out of place. A woman walked up next to him, smoking as well, and she said, "I've been there." My dad didn't really know what she was referring to, but he just nodded. They finished in silence, and walked away. We finally arrived to Beaumont Hospital in Detroit at around 5 in the morning. We laid the car seats back, set every alarm for 6:45, 6:46, 6:47, 6:48, and 6:49 on both of our phones, because dear God, after what we had been through, we were not going to miss that trip because we slept in. We both woke up after the first one. See, I truly believe that subconsciously, even when you're asleep, your body knows when it needs to wake up. After the appointment, we scheduled the surgery. After we finally walked out of that hospital, Dad and I realized we hadn't eaten all of the last day. We were too focused, too stressed to care, too worried. Stopped by an IHOP. I distinctly remember eating 6 eggs and every last bit of it, might I add. My dad got the second cheapest hotel in Detroit, which, mind you, is not much better than the cheapest. Although that chair that I had to sleep in, because I had to sleep upright, was ungodly uncomfortable. Maybe the best sleep I'd ever had. Probably due in large part to the exhaustion and the painkillers. The next morning, my dad set out on the drive back to go home. And for the first time since that Monday, November 23rd, I sat and I thought. Because that was the first time that I truly had to grasp and live with the fact that I couldn't see. Up until that point, I had stuff to distract me. I had stuff on my mind to think about. On that 17-hour car ride home, I had plenty of time to think about it. I would be going home, going to school, without vision. You see, it's so hard to truly grasp as someone who can see. Because the idea of opening your eyes and seeing nothing is unfathomable for somebody with vision. But now I was living it. I was told I was going to go blind, but at some point, as there wasn't a cure for glaucoma at the time, but that wasn't supposed to be till I was in my 20s. And now I was going to go back to 8th grade without seeing, which is already hard enough as it is. And as I was sitting there thinking, I asked myself the question that I believe many people ask themselves when they go through trials and trauma. One word. Why? Why me? Why this way? Why now? Why so fast? Why without warning? Why? You see, it's such a hard concept to wrap your head around. As a religious person, I had to wrestle with God Why me? Why now? Why this way? Why so fast? Why without warning? And when I was deep in that fight with God and with myself and my faith, I received a text message. My phone buzzed. I listened to it. As my phone reads my messages aloud, I didn't have the number. The person said that they knew me. I distinctly remember they said that they knew me back when I was 4 or 5, and I probably didn't remember them, but they were good friends with my dad, and they've been following my journey as my dad had posted updates on Facebook throughout the week and about the appointment. And that person told me that they loved me, that they were inspired by me, and that they hoped that I truly knew and believed and had no doubt that God had a plan for me. And I thought about it. At the time, if your first reaction is no, what plan could this be? Why could this be good? What good could you make out of losing your sight at the age of 13? And then another text came, another number I didn't know. Somebody back, family friend from Kansas, who said they wished me well, that they knew that I would come out of this stronger than when I went in, that they were inspired by me. Now, that was 2 people back to back who said that they were inspired by me. Inspired by what? What did I do? All I did was lay down at an operating table and wake up and without vision. I didn't do anything. I didn't show bravery. I didn't show strength. I just lived. Another text. This time from somebody who said that they went to my school. I didn't know them or recognize their name. They just said, "I wish you well. I hope you recover soon." Which I thought was ironic because I didn't think I was going to be recovering necessarily anytime soon, but the sentiment was there nonetheless. And then another, and another, and another. It got to the point where I couldn't even read the text because halfway through my phone reading it, I received another one. There were over 113 messages that day alone on that car ride back. More than half of them, I'm sure, I hadn't talked to in years, if at all, or ever. People saying they were inspired by me. And again, I didn't understand. People kept telling me I couldn't do what you're doing. I wouldn't be able to live with not being able to see. And now when people tell me that, I tell them, well, you never know how much you can take until you are forced to take it. But nonetheless, that day on that drive with those texts, that was the day that I finally answered that question of why. Maybe not why me, or why now, or why this way, or why so soon, why so fast, but why I was born. To inspire, to motivate others, to help others. In the past 5 years since that day, I've had an uncountable amount of people come up to me and tell me that I inspire them, and that they wake up every morning, and whenever they say, I've got it so rough, I've got this to deal with, and I'm under so much stress, they think of me, and how if I can do it, they can do it. And although at the time I didn't understand why I was so inspiring or how I could help somebody in that way, I now know that that's That's why I'm here. That's what I'm meant to do. I now try to embody it. You see, because you can only control how you react to trials. Make the most of what you can out of it. Being angry or sad will get you nowhere, though it's natural. But finding something you can take away from it, and finding the good to take out of it, it's a valuable lesson. That day I learned why I was born, and now if I can inspire one person, if I can help somebody get through a trial, just one person going through trauma, maybe not the same as mine, but something that they can relate to. If I can help one person, it's worth it to me. Because that's why I'm here. And that's what I'm supposed to do. Now, I don't know if you have found the reason why you're here yet. It may be soon. It may have already happened. It may not happen for a long time. But keep your eyes out for it. Because that day that you answer that question of why, it's one of the two most important days of your life. And it can be truly, completely, and utterly life-changing.